Mark Dietel here with Mark Dietel Realty. And the big news I have is there's a new housing law actually on the federal level. So I just want to talk a little bit about what that means for us here in central Indiana. First and foremost, it actually is being labeled as the biggest housing law in the last 30 years. So that's a pretty big statement. So oftentimes the news that we hear from a national perspective has to do with the coast, the expensive coast on the east or the west coast here in the U.S. So I want to talk more specifically about how this could impact us here actually here in central Indiana. So another thing that I think is very interesting for context is this received bipartisan support. So I don't have the exact statistics, but in today's political environment, I think we will all agree that the fact that it received bipartisan support is quite amazing. So we'll leave that for other stories and other talks in the future. But number one, the name is actually the 21st Century Road to Housing Act. So there's kind of four parts that I want to talk about related to this act. And the first key point you need to understand, and this is really the most important one, is this is really a supply law. In other words, it has more to do with bringing more supply of single residential housing into the market. And that relates to building new homes. So since it's a supply law, it is going to take a little bit longer to take effect. So as it relates to the building side of our business, it does help move building projects through local communities and municipalities, like from a standpoint of zoning and permitting. Obviously, the price per home and costs and those types of things are really important. It doesn't necessarily address that, but there are some grants involved that some of the local towns and cities are going to be able to take advantage of. So, and then number two, it does put limits on the large institutional investors. And those are the large national, oftentimes publicly traded companies that buy single family homes and rent them. So what that does is that there are some limitations on them buying additional homes. And again, that's important because that just allows more supply to be left for that single family home buyer, those owner occupiers that we like to use or that we like to talk about. And this is probably pretty important because this is the action step number 4. There's really no need to really wait for anything because again, what we said, this is a supply law and it's going to take some years to take effect and make an impact. So with that said there's really no need for you to wait. If you have a situation where you're considering selling and then you want to buy, or you just want to buy, you're in a situation, or maybe you're renting and you want to buy, let's talk about that now. Give us a call. You can contact myself, Mark Dietel, at 317-441-7887. You can check out markdietel.com and see any of our agents. We'd be happy to sit down with you and go over a buyer consultation and talk about your specific situation, or actually also talk to you from a listing appointment standpoint and talk about your specific home that you may want to get on your market. So there you have it. A large new housing law has come onto the scenes. It's not going to have an immediate impact for us, but the fact that it did receive bipartisan support, I think lends us or really shows us that this is an important issue for our congressmen and our people that represent us in Washington, D.C. So I hope this information is beneficial and thank you very much.